All right. Good evening and good night, and welcome to the It's Your Perspective Talk Show. It is Thursday, April 2nd, 2015. My name is David, a.k.a. Kimba, a.k.a. Christian, alongside
Soup.
We're back again, man.
Yes, it's the Easter holiday, Easter weekend, Holy Thursday. Tomorrow, Good Friday. Easter coming Sunday, and Easter Monday, all a good thing, you know.
Yeah. Shout out to all the campers out there.
Yep.
Doing their thing.
Be safe.
Hopefully you got a little bit of power and you're watching the show on the beach.
You know.
Anyway, this is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Until some Fridays, some Saturdays, and even some Sundays. We do have a telephone number, 340-201-9005. You can also text us on that number. Most importantly, you have to go to our website, streaming live from the vi.com. Go to our website, click on the tab that says Watch Us Live, and guess what? You'll see us live, man. We also have email, streaming live from the vi at yahoo.com. Send us an email, let us know how you're doing. We do have a guest in studio tonight, author Gary James. There he is. Wave to the crowd, Gary.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back with Gary just in a few minutes here. He's our special guest tonight. Moving on here, we were in a high-tech, low-tech studio, coming to you from an undisclosed location in the beautiful island of St. Croix, Virgin Islands. No radio, no TV, internet only. Have to go to our website, streaming live from the vi.com in order to see this show.
Call a friend, tell a friend, you know.
That's how it goes, man. To see all our recorded live shows, go to youtube.com or ustream.tv and search for the It's Your Perspective Talk Show. Just added another recorded live show there last night. We had our guest last night. Soup was
Rafael Acevedo from Clover Appliances.
Yes. Yeah, he fixes appliances, all the brand name stuff. Check out his show. But moving on here, we have two Facebook pages. Shout out to CHS class of 1982. That's the year that Soup and I are representing. Big ups to all our classmates around the corner here in St. Croix and worldwide. Let us know how you're doing. Give us a call, 340-201-9005. Shout outs to Vanessa of Rhythms, Argument Records, Julie, Sharice King, and all our past guests. Thanks for coming on our show. And as we talk about past guests, Gary James was our first guest.
Yes.
When we started April 8th of 2015.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, 2014. And Gary, this coming Wednesday makes 1 year that we're having a big show, and we're having a big party here on Wednesday. So this is the place to be, the high-tech, low-tech studio. So anyway, a couple more things here, Soup. Hit us up on Twitter at VI Perspective. We're moving straight forward and up. The show's mission is just simply to inform, entertain, and empower everyone. Soup, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Soup's gonna bless us with that poem, man.
Greetings, Kidamawa Price last side the first lives. Jah Rastafari. The greatest secret in life is that reality is nothing more than illusion. The physical world does not exist outside of our own belief system and the filter of our own mind. We are, in fact, subparticles of Jah experiencing creation itself. But as subparticles of Jah, we have swayed over these creations. Everything you have experienced in life, every event, occurrence, object, and person is nothing more than a figment of your own thoughts, beliefs, and words. The problem is, most of us are still asleep. When you understand this, your entire world shifts and you come to realize the true meaning of life is thus like a lucid dream. We have total control.
Yes, sir, Soup. That's the It's Your Perspective poem. Soup's been blessing us just about a year now.
Yes,
April 8th of 2014, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And as I said, some Fridays, some Saturdays, even some Sundays. So thank you, man, Soup, for blessing us, blessing the show, man.
Yes, sir.
We're just having fun, and we're going to have some fun tonight because our first guest that was here almost a year ago is back.
To date, you know what I'm saying? So.
Hey, man, thank you. Author Gary James, there he is right there. He's back. And and he's back again, man. Black Politics 2.0. His conversation continues. Tonight is number 9 in the series that he's doing every other Thursday. So he'll be here tonight, and then next time will be April 16th, 8 p.m. sharp. So how you doing, Gary?
Good, my brother. Good. Just looking forward to tonight's show. We're going to talk a little bit about current events tonight, change the pace a little bit. And current events, very dynamic, very inspiring. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And current events of a global nature, because there's so much going on in the world. In fact, this morning I was listening to the news on CNN and was interested to hear that the Al-Qaeda group in Yemen had attacked the prison, and over 250 prisoners have been let loose in Yemen. And so we're going to keep our eye on that, because it's pretty interesting developments in Yemen, particularly in the Middle East in general. But we want to keep our eye on Yemen, because it has been touted as the stronghold for Al-Qaeda, or AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. And so now that the prisoners have been cut loose, and I'm sure you remember just a couple of weeks ago, the forces of Al-Qaeda and ISIS toppled the government, the president,
Yes.
of Yemen. And that was surprising to many, because Yemen and its president was being touted by the U.S. and the West as a successful example of their fight against Al-Qaeda and ISIS. But I found that particularly interesting because you might recall a few days ago, it was Saudi Arabia who spearheaded a coalition of other Arab Muslims in the Middle East to attack Yemen. And I was surprised to hear that they were attacking not Al-Qaeda or ISIS, as I said, which is their stronghold in Yemen, but they were attacking the Houthis, who are Johnny-come-lately to the region. And in fact, they are supported by the Shia. But the real problem, as we all know, throughout the Middle East, North, East, and West Africa, is ISIS, the Islamic State, who have inspired others in Africa and the region to follow through on their egregious and horrible acts of murder against, well, Muslims as well as Christians. In fact, perhaps more Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims have been killed by ISIS and Al-Qaeda as compared to the amount of Christians. But they are an equal opportunity slayer of human beings, so it really makes no difference. But I want to keep my eye on that situation there, because it seems as though what we are witnessing is the Sunni Muslims against the Shia Muslims, as opposed to the Sunni Muslims, the leaders in the Sunni countries, taking action against their nemesis, who are essentially extremist Sunni Muslims. So we'll keep our eye on this situation, and we'll talk about it as the need may arise. But it brought me to mind of the topic this evening, which raises the question, are Christian and Muslims at war? And I would just observe that for more than a decade, events in the Middle East have dominated the American foreign policy and news media programming. Current events in the region has animated the world and in fact portends a global conflagration that some equate with ancient biblical end of days prophecy. So these are things that we need to observe them, and we're going to talk about that this evening. In this context, the expanding war in the Middle East, North Africa, West and East Africa is being positioned in some quarters as a war between Christianity and Islam. And in our conversation about these unfolding events, we hope to generate some perspective and understanding regarding the competing interests and dynamics in the region. But the impetus for this dynamic situation, according to many, was the Arab Spring, which began in Tunisia in 2011, and it spread to other countries. The Arab Spring emerged in Egypt, Yemen, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Libya, and Syria, etc. The Arab Spring in Tunisia, however, developed into what has been touted as a best case scenario, in that Tunisia had experienced or is experiencing some level of economic reform and prosperity. So it's on a progressive trajectory. On the other hand, the governments in other countries repressed the Arab Spring phenomena in their areas with dubious results. For example, in Egypt, the military component re-emerged and the democratically elected president was deposed in a coup. Indigenous revolutionaries deposed the government in Yemen, as we mentioned, and it's now called a failed state. The United States et al. Invaded Libya and Iraq, deposing their respective leaders. But Arab revolutionaries in the neighborhood are successfully challenging the Western geopolitical design. The Islamic State, as it is called, is the latest incarnation of the Arab Spring. And revolutionaries in Syria, anti-government forces, and in Iraq, anti-American forces, have taken over much of the real estate in Syria and Iraq. These extremist Sunni Muslim forces are expanding and grabbing territory in the Middle East and are networking with extremists in North Africa, Yemen, Somalia, and Nigeria. And the future looks grim. In the United States and the Western world, this escalating asymmetrical warfare is being portrayed as Islam against America and the West by some, while others posit that it's a war between Christianity and Islam, and that war is inevitable. Still others insist or resist the notion of a war between Christianity and Islam fighting forces. And currently, the swath of territory that has been claimed by ISIS and the Islamic State is increasing, and it seems as though the whole region, it is in the process of conflagration. The military forces of ISIS in Syria and Iraq are engaged in a war with the West. Reportedly, a coalition of 50-odd countries under the leadership of America and the West seem to be holding their own. Moreover, ISIS, that brand of terrorism, is being franchised as other extremist Muslim groups in other countries are pledging allegiance to ISIS and that objective. And the asymmetrical warfare operatives of various stripes are targeting the homeland in America and in Europe. And so the news is replete with these various egregious events. Is ISIS at war with America and the West? Interesting question. Is the often referenced war between Christianity and Islam what's up in the Middle East? Alternatively, are there other different and compelling narratives? Is there a pervasive argument or persuasive argument beyond the Western conventional geopolitical wisdom? I suspect there is. If we extrapolate from the Arab Spring, we observe that the indigenous populations of the Arab countries, it is clear that a chasm between the strong-armed monarchical rulers or ruling class have pulverized their local populations. The chasm can be characterized by economic disenfranchisement, a lack of opportunities, education, a lack of health and service, social service infrastructure. So hence, the past 100 years, the ruling class of the West have impacted the countries of the Middle East and have alienated and deprived their indigenous cultures. ISIS is an outgrowth of an organic revolutionary force that has a noted legacy of a superior or a super ruling class. ISIS are dramatically opposed to the century-old ruling paradigm that is enabled by America and the Western powers. Specifically, the emerging Islamic State wants to remove America and the West from the region and to destroy their economic and geopolitical hegemony. In this context, forces of ISIS are seeking to remove the Arab allies of the West from control of the Middle East that comprises the current status quo. And of course, Saudi Arabia is perhaps the largest hegemon or controller of the Middle East region. Therefore, the primary objective of ISIS is to control the region from the despotic Arab leaders and rule those target countries in the Middle East who are politically clients of America and the West. Consequently, a cogent political argument can be made that the primary military objective of the so-called Islamic State is to remove and destroy the control of America and the West, the control that they have enjoyed for 100 years, since the end of World War II. So the so-called Islamic State is making substantial gains in that regard by way of their leadership on the ground. Hence, the Islamic State is not at war with America at all. Their objective is to control a piece of their own ground. Theology of Islam around the world was a concomitant conquering of territories in the country. Islamic theology seems to be on the rise. Interestingly enough, the growth and development and conquest by the forces of Islam occurred within the footprint of the Roman Empire, which heretofore was the occupying power in the Middle East during that previous to that 100-year period. Nevertheless, following the advent of Islam, Arab Muslims reclaimed their indigenous countries and conquered Egypt, and that country became Arabic ethnically. Also in the 8th century, the forces of Islam by way of North Africa, and Hannibal is a popular character in those events. Hannibal and the North Africans conquered Jerusalem and the Holy Land, and they subsequently invaded and conquered Spain, and they ruled Spain for 700 years until 1492, when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, in conjunction with the papacy, the Vatican, regained control of Spain. Therefore, from the 8th century to the 15th century, Islam and Christianity represented the powers in control of the known world. As the church and state were the same at that time. The Roman Catholic Church ruled Europe and there was no separation of church and state with the Holy Roman Empire. So, as a practical matter, there was no separation between church and state in the West until the 1600s. Separation of church and state were ushered in following the Protestant Reformation 500 years ago. That Protestant Reformation split Roman Catholicism into Protestants and Catholics. So when Charlemagne became Emperor of Rome in the 8th century, he formally declared himself Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. During this period, Christendom in the West and Islam, by way of the Arabs and North Africans, were among the Muslim contingent, but it was the Ottoman Empire that successfully competed for the economic and political domination in the Middle East. Secular government, on the other hand, and the separation between church and state occurred in Europe in the 1600s following the Protestant Reformation, and accordingly, the separation of church and state was a secular or developed the advent of a secular government which has existed in the West for the past 500 years. During this period, Western hegemony of the trade routes, economic and geopolitical control was consolidated in the Middle East and in other regions. It was the West that controlled the oil and controlled the trade routes, and they maintain till this day the oil, control of the oil and the trade routes, which is responsible for building the world economy. Consequently, there is a relevant backstory and context to the current events that are unfolding in the world today. The backstory articulates a dynamic role that Christianity and Protestantism played under the umbrella of secular Western government as they pursued the economic and strategic and geopolitical objectives in the region. There exists a theological as well as a familial connection between Christianity and Islam. Much of this is not spoken of because both faiths are monotheistic religions that acknowledge the same origin in the framework of their acknowledged patriarch, the prophet Abraham. As a matter of fact, there are three religions of Abraham: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and they represent a historical procession, with Islam being the youngest of the three religions, having its advent in the 7th century by way of the prophet Abraham. The Quran, Islam's holy book, acknowledges its origin in terms of the patriarch Abraham, And it also asserts that Moses and Jesus are prophets that preceded the advent of Islam. Additionally, the Quran holds Mary, the mother of Jesus, in high esteem. And the Muslim holy book also mentions the union between Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, which is also recorded in the Old Testament, 1 Kings. Hence, the stories in the Quran and the Bible reference similar prophets, characters, stories, and scenarios. Moreover, while the Quran was reportedly revealed to Muhammad by God, it was the Archangel Gabriel who was the intermediary between God and Muhammad, and it was Gabriel who facilitated the Quran's revelation to Muhammad. So these various points are salient factors that confirm the fundamental connection and overlap that characterizes the unequivocal connections between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. More particularly, Abraham had two sons. One was Isaac, whose familial line established Christianity, and the other son was Ishmael. And Ishmael, his familial line established Islam. So Islam and Christianity come from the loin of Abraham. So is Christianity and Islam at war? We need to look at these things a little closer, and we need to listen to the popular rhetoric with some skepticism, because perhaps there's another agenda at foot whose purpose is to keep the masses of people confused or misguided on another trip. Consequently, if there is a war between Christianity and Islam, the founding and heritage of both religions indicate that the war is a family affair. But the family internal dynamic is rooted in Judaic theology, as represented by Cain and Abel, the sons of Adam and Eve, who, well, we know the story between Cain and Abel. The backstory relative to the religions of Abraham, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is replete with familial dynamic. It's replete with the family affair. Interestingly enough, the family dynamic is established by the findings of current science, which confirms that human beings represent one race. Only one race. This singular finding and observation by religion and science has far-reaching implications as it relates to human nature and man's inhumanity to man. So it's worthy to note that the ruling superclass are reluctant at best to put their army Army's boots on the ground, which many suggest that there is a reluctance because the problem is the Sunni Muslims and the extreme Sunni Muslims. And therefore, the internal struggle, the internal scenario is being portrayed as something other than what it is. Therefore, we have to be very wary about how we sign on to the popular rhetoric. The religions of Abraham enjoy a very interesting history of reformation, which is well documented in Judaic and Christian history. You know of the many various Reform Jews. You know of, obviously, the Reformation, the Protestant Reformation, which reformed Christianity. The history of Christianity in the West, in particular, is based on the Protestant Reformation of the Roman Catholic Church after about 1400 years. Subsequently, the denominational Christianity that we know that has proliferated in the West and the various denominations or Protestant denominations continue to emerge. There are many Christian denominations or Protestant denominations that continue to unfold. It has been about 1400 years since the advent of Islam, the most recent of the religions of Abraham, and we suspect that the current internal dynamic in Islam may ultimately lead to a fundamental reformation. Reformation of Islam is the only option to remediate this primordial schism between the Sunni and Shia. The Sunni and Shia dichotomy also has an ethnic and cultural dynamic in that Sunni Muslims in the Middle East are predominantly Arab, while the Shia Muslims in the region are Persian. In this context, Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims are the two toughest big boys in the neighborhood of the Middle East. And at the end of the day, the toughest boys in the neighborhood will have to work out the future. But as we examine the developments as they continue to unfold, there is a reluctance on the part of the major rulers of Sunni Islam in the region. As we mentioned earlier, Saudi Arabia and 6 other Arab Sunni Muslims attacked Yemen. But as opposed to attacking Yemen from the standpoint of ISIS and Al-Qaeda in the region, the ones who toppled the president of Yemen, the Saudis et al. Are concentrating their efforts on the Sunnis. Why is that? Well, let's examine it in a little greater depth. We see there are negotiations underway with the U.S. and the West, negotiating with Iran regarding their nuclear development. But we see a real reluctance on the part of other players in the region, vis-a-vis Israel, the Saudi Arabia, the Egyptian leadership. There is a reluctance on their part, and these are allies of the U.S., they are reluctant to sign on to the nuclear negotiations and the prospect for a nuclear-free Iran. Why is that? That's because, in our view, the Sunni Muslims, by way of the Persians, have a 4,000 or 5,000 year history in the region, and they, the Sunnis, the Iranians and Shia Muslims, present a major obstacle to the Sunni leadership vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the other Arab countries. And there is the objective on the part of the extremist Muslims to, in fact, fight against the allies of the U.S., because while the U.S. has supported them for the past 100 years, they, the ruling class, have treated their indigenous populations with rough stuff. Not tough love, but disenfranchisement and poverty. So as far as the Sunni extremists are concerned, they simply want to get rid of the allies of the West who have been responsible for their decline and their demise. So we need to look at these developments very closely and examine how things may turn out, may fall out in the future. Obviously, the boundaries and the countries that were established during or following World War I seem to be in decline, seem to be melting down. And so for the foreseeable future, the Middle East will be volatile, and for the most part, populations who may be at the lowest end of the total pole or the lowest in the pecking order may ultimately rise as developments continue. How are we doing time-wise?
We have like another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are challenged as citizens of the United States and the West. We are challenged to be mindful of developments as they occur and to be wary of following the conventional line, the conventional narrative, which purports this rift, this war between Christianity and Islam. And we have to begin to realize that what we are being propounded with in terms of the traditional and conventional narrative is based on the fact that the West is concerned with maintaining their economic and strategic interests in the region and reinforcing their allies to maintain the status quo. But it's just a matter of time before things begin to unfold and deteriorate and present some major problems going forward. No one knows what the end result will be, but we do realize, as many point out, that we are living in end of days prophecy. And so it is up to us, the citizens of the world, to examine things very closely and to do our homework in terms of taking care of our local situations. So I'm going to leave it there. Are there any questions or comments that you guys might have? Well, we're going to leave it there, and I'm not certain what subject we'll deal with during the next show.
Right.
But we have a number of things on the drawing board, and we will be in a position to discuss plans that we project for developing a broader understanding regarding local politics, regarding the conventional history that we've been so accustomed to, and we will look forward to next week, or rather the 16th.
April 16th,
April
yes.
16th, and discuss world events from that point forward. We will have some interesting projects and points to raise going forward.
Okay.
So I want to thank you, my brother.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, did
Thank
you get
you.
any feedback from your last show, which was a couple weeks back?
I did. In fact, I discussed with three inquisitors, for example, how, because they were interested about the race piece,
Okay.
you know, and the fact that there continues to be this idea of we being divided into black, white,
Multiple races.
yeah,
Yes.
multiple races.
Yes. Yes.
And so my position has been that although science has unequivocally proven that we are one family who have originated from Africa, we are one race. It is my observation and my point to the interested parties that, because the question arose, well, do you think that there will be a recognition of there being just one race, one family of human beings? And my position is, I don't think there will be a recognition from the powers that be and the media in general that there's simply one race. They will take the idea of multiple races to the wall, and we have to appreciate the fact that the races, black, white, etc., are in fact, or should be termed in the context of a common vernacular. In other words, black, white, brown, etc. are slang terms. They're not terms that describe various races of human beings. So we have to appreciate that they are slang terms, and the powers that be will take that multi-race paradigm to the wall, because everything has been organized around that. The systems of politics,
yes.
You know, the structure of economics, you know, how things are set up globally. Because
yes.
the same players in the West who were responsible for developing the paradigm, the race paradigm, which came about as a result of Darwinism. Darwin,
right.
The survival of the fittest. And the fact that black folk were seen as beasts of burden, and wanting us to do the work for free, which we did under slavery, but they had to position black folk as being less than human,
right,
in order for them to get away with what they have gotten away with and continue to get away with. So that conversation on race will continue to emerge.
Yes.
You know.
Very popular subject.
Yeah, very, and it's a very powerful subject, because you see, the question was raised to me on that subject with respect to what's going on campus with the Greek organizations.
Okay.
You see, and the point that we discussed was the fact that the West have advanced the Greco-Roman historical narrative, which does not take into consideration where the Greeks learned from.
Nope, they don't want to tell them that.
No, and so I would suggest, in fact, what we talked about was, instead of there being singularly just Greek organizations on campus, there should be two. There should be options: Greek and Egyptian.
Yes. Yes, I.
So that's where we are in that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, our guest tonight is author Gary James. Just finished up his conversation, continues part number 9. He'll be back on April 16th to continue on with part number 10. I want to say thank you for many reasons, for coming in and doing your thing, but also the fact that he was our first guest, Soup.
Yes, definitely. From day one, the guy he said he on the wagon and he ain't leaving, so he's here and he's testifying to it. You know what I mean?
A year later, so he's still hanging there. Thanks for that.
For sure.
Any final words, Soup?
Yeah, Gary, thank you again. Happy Easter to you and your family and your loved ones. Have a safe and wonderful weekend. Jah guide, Rastafari lives, one perfect love.
Yeah, we just like to say that one perfect love is our prayers and his blessings. When you put it all together, you get one perfect love. All right, everybody have a good Easter. Have fun camping. We'll be back on Tuesday, next week Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
With more fun stuff. We're out.
Peace.
Peace.